Since its initial reveal back in May, the PlayStation Portal has been met with a lot of confusion from fans and critics alike. This device is weird. It isn't one of those portable PC powerhouses like the Steam Deck or even the PlayStation Vita successor freaks like Pete were hoping for. Instead, PlayStation Portal acts solely as an accessory for your PS5, allowing you to stream games from your PlayStation 5 through your Wi-Fi connection using remote play like some kind of Wii U gamepad. From the moment I first saw Project Q, I only had one question in mind. Who is this product for? Considering this bad boy will run you $200, it's definitely a question worth answering. So, let's get started. I think we can all agree that PlayStation Portal is nothing to look at. I think nearly everyone's first reaction to this thing was, man, this really is just a DualSense with a screen slapped on in the middle, huh? And yeah, it definitely is that, but picking up the Portal just feels right. While it may look slapdash on its surface, it passes almost every barometer I would look for in a comfy handheld device. The transition from gaming on your console to gaming on the Portal is so seamless because you're working with essentially the same control scheme and design. The DualSense layout fits right at home on the Portal, and I actually prefer the home and mute button placements on the Portal to my DualSense Edge. If you're worried about the touchpad, Sony has allocated 2 spots on the screen that give you the same functionality. However, with all that said, it's not a perfect fit. Tilting the Portal up, you'll notice that there's a sizable curve to the device stemming from the size of the screen. The PlayStation Portal is equipped with an 8-inch 1080p 60Hz LCD panel. Naturally, to have a screen so big on such a small handheld, you're going to have to make some compromises. But it's definitely led to awkward placement of a few key controls. And don't even get me started on the charging and headphone ports. These things are like dead center. And look how much of this cable it eats up. I get it. To have a device this slim, some weight needs to be shifted, but I think this is a bit excessive. Ultimately, I think the trade-off here is worth it, because while it may just be an LCD screen, it has that premium feel. You know what I mean? The colors pop, the visual compromises are minimal at worst, and gameplay feels smooth. At the end of the day, most of these issues are really just nitpicks. After spending some extensive time with the Portal, I can say it is by far the most comfortable handheld device I've ever experienced. I'll admit, when Pete and Steve first approached me with the opportunity to cover the PlayStation Portal, I wasn't sure if I was up to the job. I'm one of those resolution and frame rate snobs, so despite being a Nintendo Switch owner, the latest wave of handheld gaming has more or less passed me by. But something about this PlayStation Portal thing got me really interested. I'm a big PlayStation fan, so if anyone was going to get me invested in a handheld accessory, it was them. But if I don't play the handheld devices I have now, what purpose would the PlayStation Portal serve me? After spending some time with the device, that trepidation quickly turned to enthusiasm. Connecting the Portal is a pretty seamless experience. After going through the initial setup, all you have to do is power the device on, hit the X button, and that's it. The Portal will do the rest. During the series of tests I ran for this video, I decided to focus on 3 of this year's biggest PS5 releases: Insomniac's latest and greatest Spider-Man 2, the latest installment in Square Enix's most famous IP, Final Fantasy 16, and so we can test how this baby handles online gaming, Street Fighter 6. The first thing that immediately stuck out to me was just how smooth the streaming felt. Seriously, I felt almost no latency, and if there was any, it was negligible. After jumping into Spider-Man 2 and doing some high-speed swinging around New York for a few hours, I was left in awe at how smooth everything ran. But as Spider-Man 2's performance impressed me, I was really blown away by how little latency I experienced when I tried my hand at playing ranked Street Fighter. In a competitive game like this, your controls need to be on point if you want to stand any chance of winning. And fortunately, the Portal is able to deliver that precise experience. These games demand a lot from the PS5, and to have it look and feel this good is impressive to say the least, and serves as a potentially unsatisfying answer as to why Sony didn't just make a dedicated handheld. I understand the many disadvantages of having a streaming-only accessory, but one major advantage that cannot be understated is the visual fidelity. Sure, when you play a game like Final Fantasy 16 where there's a lot of moving detail, you're gonna lose a bit of that visual fidelity, but again, not enough to bother the average gamer looking to share their living room TV. The biggest compromise you're making making when you decide to play games this intense tends to be the frame rate. I experienced minimal but noticeable frame drops whenever there was a lot going on in game. It's not something that will hinder the experience for most players, but it is surprising that Sony's advertising a consistent 1080p 60 on this device when in some predictable circumstances it fails to hit that. But I will say when it does hit that 60 frames a second, oh baby does it look good. I once again point to Fighting Ultima and Final Fantasy XVI. Man, it looks gorgeous. No latency means I'm able to keep up with the fight. The nice bright screen allows me to keep up with this dangerous deity, and the colors just make the whole fight pop out of the screen. To be fair though, I pay for really good internet, so depending on your own connection, results may vary. It's safe to say in the most ideal conditions, the PlayStation Portal definitely performs with the best handheld devices in the market, and in some cases, it surpasses that. But what about when the Portal isn't in the most ideal conditions? Before I got my hands on the Portal, the primary way I saw myself using it was when the TV in my house is being used or when I'm visiting my folks. So, after enjoying my time playing at home, I headed down the road to my parents' place, and it was here that the cracks started to form. While the visual fidelity remains pretty consistent while on the same network, when you're trying to connect from someone else's Wi-Fi, the frame drops are much more consistent, and the latency is much more noticeable to a point where it genuinely affects the gameplay experience. It wasn't so bad while I was playing a single player game like Spider-Man. While I did notice the resolution taking a hit and the latency being a little higher, I would say a single player game like this is playable outside the home. It's not ideal, but it definitely works. But trying to play ranked Street Fighter on the other hand, didn't go quite as well for me. I periodically lost my connection in the middle of gameplay, which forces the Portal to freeze and then eventually hard reset. Reconnecting is as simple as restarting the device and letting it connect to your PS5, but when you're outside your home, it can be a gamble whether or not it'll establish a connection. My parents have the same internet speed as me, but even still, it'll take a bit of time to reconnect when you're far away from your PS5. When in ideal conditions, it'll connect almost instantly. Maybe if we both had faster internet, I would get better results? I can't really say, but the experience I did have was definitely not as smooth as the experience you'll have when you're in the same home as your PS5. Given that I was able to connect long enough to at least give these games a test, if you're really committed to streaming games to your Portal outside your home, you technically could, but this crude test gave me all the evidence I need to conclude that this is probably not a device you should take outside the home. Another question I'm sure many of you are asking is why would someone choose to buy a PlayStation Portal when they could buy a portable PC like the Steam Deck and use Chiaki to do the exact same thing and have all the benefits of a dedicated handheld device? When directly comparing the experiences side by side, the differences were quite staggering. I used Spider-Man as my test when directly comparing the Portal and the Steam Deck, and at first glance, things seemed pretty comparable. But after a few minutes, I noticed a few hiccups on Chiaki's end, the biggest being how the Steam Deck felt. Since you're not equipped with adaptive triggers, the latency feels much more apparent while swinging, and this is on top of the smaller issues you'd come to expect. Muddy resolution, constant frame drops, weird screen tearing. Yeah, I mean, if all you have is a Steam Deck, I guess Chiaki is a good way to go, but the difference in quality is too vast to ignore. And when I was outside my home, the Portal was able to connect and even provide a relatively smooth experience, all things considered, whereas Chiaki couldn't even connect. I won't deny that devices like the Steam Deck provide more bang for your buck, but if your primary goal for the device is streaming your PS5 library, the Portal has a clear advantage over portable PCs. The PlayStation Portal is a weird device, but it admittedly has a lot of quality to offer. The screen and build quality are first class, and when combined with the familiar DualSense layout, the PlayStation Portal has the feel of a device capable of running these AAA games. It passes every conceivable test a general consumer would be looking for in a device like this, except for the unfortunate limitations that tether it to use with your home network. If you're a PS5 owner looking for a plug-and-play solution to accessing your PS5 library at home when your TV is tied up, there's no better direction to go, and it's priced very reasonably if you're part of that specific demographic. My side-by-side comparison with Steam Deck and Chiaki show that although the PlayStation Portal's use case is extremely limited, even experienced handheld enthusiasts may want to give this device a second look. Although I really like the PlayStation Portal, this wasn't the device to win me over, and I'm left wondering if this device's use case is too narrow to warrant its own existence, even if it is good at what it does. As someone who isn't worried about competing for TV time, I've got no desire to play these beautiful games on a handheld device and missing out on the visual fidelity you'd expect out of your PS5. So with all that in mind, is the PlayStation Portal worth its $200 price tag? I would say probably not, unless you're part of an extremely specific Venn diagram of PlayStation owners. But hey, this is coming from the guy who spent $200 on a DualSense Edge. So what do I know? Are you planning on picking up a PlayStation Portal? Let us know in the comments down below. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to subscribe to FlipScreen Games for more content like this. I've been Zaid, aka Snackugo. If you want to hear more from me, be sure to check out my channel, which I'll leave a link to down below. Or you can click on my most recent video here. Catch y'all on the next one.